module, basically we are going to discuss about what is process, what is thread, the fundamentals of process management. These are some of the important topics we are going to cover in process management. Along with that, we are also going to discuss about some of the scheduling policies such as FCFS, that is first come first serve, shortest request next, round robin policy, and also we are going to discuss about least completed next. These are some of the topics we are going to discuss in the second module. Okay, first we are going to start with the very basic definition of process. Okay, many times we have used the word process. Okay, so basically process is nothing but it is either a program or part of the program under execution. Right now, in generally, if you consider program is like a passive entity. Once the program is stored in memory, we can say that the program is submitted to the operating system, but only when it gets CPU, we can say that the program is under execution. As we discussed in the previous class also, it is possible to divide the program again into multiple tasks. An application can be divided into multiple parts, and these parts, they can be referred to as processes. That's why a process can be defined as it is a single program or part of the program under execution. Only the part of the program or the program which is under execution, means which is allocated with CPU, can be referred to as a process. So a process in generally, it consists of 6 components. When a process is created by the operating system is going to create 6 important components for handling each and every process. These 6 components, they are ID, code, data, stack, resources, and CPU state. So first one is ID. So actually ID is a unique name or ID created or assigned to the program. So ID is simply nothing but the unique number assigned to the process. Then code is nothing but the code part of the program. We know that every process or every program, it should include some set of instructions. These instructions, they are referred to as code part of the program. Simply code is the program code which is to be executed. The next we have data. Data is nothing but the data and files which are used during execution of the program. So basically whenever you write any of the program, the goal of the program will be to process the data. Data is nothing but like variables. Say for example, if you have written a program to find largest of 3 numbers, and if you have defined ABC as 3 variables, these 3 variables are like the data of the program, right? So actually data, it's nothing but the information or data and files which are used during execution of the program. Next, it contains resources. So resources, it indicates or it contains information about all the resources which are allocated to the process during the execution. Then it will also consist of CPU state. So actually the CPU state, it indicates the current activity of the process. And also it contains stack. So actually the stack comes into the picture when you make use of functions. In a program, suppose if you are using the functions, the parameters of the functions and even the return value from the function, they are stored on the stack. So remember, a process basically consists of 6 components. ID is the unique number assigned by the operating system when a process is created. Then code is nothing but the code part of the program. Data, it includes data of the program, that is variables, and even files which are being opened by the process. Stack, it includes function parameters and the return value of the function which is used in the program. Resources, they are nothing but the information about the resources which are allocated to that process by the operating system. And the last one is the state of the process. Generally, it's nothing but the current activity within the process. The current activity within the process is indicated by the state of the process. So here, remember, process is nothing but it is the program or part of the program which is under execution. Okay, here we are going to discuss about OS view of processes. Means we are going to discuss about the processes from the perspective of operating system. So in generally, if you consider operating system point of view, the process consists of two important parts. First one is code and data areas of the process. They may include stack also and resources allocated to it, and also the information that is concerned with program execution. So in generally, when a process is created, it can be indicated something like as the process environment. So process environment is nothing but the context of a process. So the context of a process can also be referred to as the process environment. So if you look at this diagram, here I have shown the contents of the process environment. If you look at the diagram, like it contains code. Code, as we discussed, it's nothing but the instruction part of the program. That is, code of the program itself is nothing but we can say code component. Then it contains data of the program, that is like variables or any file information which is being processed by the program. Then it contains stack. So basically stack, it is used to store function parameters and also the return value. Then it contains the memory information. So when a process is created, some particular block of memory is allocated for that process. The information about which block is allocated to that process will be stored as the memory allocation information. The next, it contains resource allocation information. As the name itself indicates, it includes the list of resources which are already allocated to that process. Then here you are finding the file pointers. So actually these file pointers, they contain address of the files which are being opened by the process for processing of those files. Okay. So these 6 components, they are referred to as process environment. I'll just tell you once again. Code, it includes code part of the program. Data is nothing but the variables or information which is being processed by the process. Then stack, mainly it is used to store the function parameters as well as the return value of the function. Then memory allocation information is stored in this block. Then the resource allocation information is stored in this particular block. And the file pointers, they contain information about the files and their status which are currently opened by that particular process. Along with that, there exists one more important data structure called process control block. So actually this process control block, in short form, it is referred to as PCB. So it is one of the important data structure created for every process. So in general, it contains information about process ID, state, the register values, and the program counter value. Okay, you need not to worry at this stage. We are going to discuss this process control block in detail in the coming topic. Okay, so this is all about the process environment. Okay, here the same thing he has discussed, the contents of process environment. Then next, here we have some basic topics, that is the kernel functions. So already I told you that kernel is nothing but we can say operating system. Many of the times the operating system is referred to as monitor, kernel, or it is also referred to as supervisor. Okay, so with respect to process, the kernel has to perform three important functions. First one is scheduling. We have discussed many times this word. Scheduling, it is a process of selecting the process or program to be executed next on the CPU. You might have submitted a large number of processes, but out of those processes or programs, one of the processes selected for execution. Okay, that process of selecting the program for execution is called as scheduling. The next we have dispatching. So actually dispatching means setting up the execution of the selected process on the CPU. Okay, assume that you have submitted 10 programs. Out of 10, one of the program is selected by the scheduler for execution. So to start the execution of that program, you have to make some setup on the CPU. You have to store the context of that process on the CPU, right? That process we call it as dispatching. So dispatching, it includes setting up the execution of the selected process on the CPU. Then we have context save, context saving, saving information of a process while it is under execution. So when the process is under execution, many of the times that process need to be suspended. When the process is preempted or when it is suspended, its context information need to be saved. That process of saving information of the process when it is suspended is called as context saving. Students, simply context saving means saving the status of the program when it is suspended is called as context saving. Okay, so these three, they are the important functions performed by the kernel. Okay, any doubts here? We have seen scheduling, dispatching, and context saving. Okay, students, we have a very important topic in this slide, that is the process states and state transitions. So basically, the process state means it indicates the current activity within the process. The process will be under different conditions or will be carrying out different activities. These activities of the process, in generally, it is referred to as process state. And during execution of the process, during the life cycle of the process, it will perform many of the transitions. They can be referred to as state transitions. So a process need to change from one state to the other state. That we call it as state transition. Okay, here basically when you consider the process execution, there will be four important states. They are ready state, running state, terminated state, and blocked state. We'll discuss these states one by one. It is one of the very interesting topic, and you must have to understand this concept so that you can understand other concepts very easily once you go through this particular topic. Okay, students, when a new process is created, that new process is submitted to the operating system. Okay, that process will be switched into ready state. The ready state of the process indicates that the process is ready to execute but waiting for CPU. When a new process is created, that process is submitted to the operating system and it will be stored in main memory of the computer. Okay, that particular state we call it as ready state. So ready state, it indicates that the process is ready to execute, but it is waiting for CPU. The next we have running state. The running state indicates that the process has got CPU and it is under execution. The running state indicates that the CPU is executing the instructions of that particular program. Okay, and when the process is under execution, if it completes its task, the process is then switched from running state to terminate state. So when the process completes its execution, the process is switched from running state to terminate state. So the terminate state indicates that the process has completed its execution. Then we have blocked state. Okay, assume that a process is in running state, it has got CPU and its instructions are under execution. But while the process is under execution, it may request for some resource which cannot be immediately granted by the operating system. In that case, the process is switched from running state to blocked state. Students, please try to understand. The blocked state indicates that process has made some request which cannot be granted immediately by the operating system. Like this, there exist 4 states. What are those? First one is ready state. It indicates that the process is ready to execute but waiting for CPU. And there will be n number of processes in ready state. Then we have running state. The running state indicates that the program is under execution or process is under execution. But in case if you have only one CPU, remember there exists only one program in running state. There can be only one program which is making use of CPU, right? And we have terminated state. The terminated state indicates that the program execution is over. The program has completed its execution. That we call it as terminate state. Then we have blocked state. The blocked state indicates that the process has made some request which cannot be granted by the operating system immediately. Say for example, assume that a process is under execution and it has made a request for a printer. But that time the printer may not be available or it may be used by some other programs. So under such situations, the program which has requested for the printer, it is switched to blocked state. I hope you have understood these 4 states. Okay, next here we have the state transitions. Okay, diagram we have seen, right? The process state diagram we have seen. So if you look at the diagram, can you just find out the transitions? What are the different transitions we have in the diagram? So this diagram we call it as process state diagram. The process state diagram always it indicates the life cycle of the program, right? Okay, can you just name the transitions? What are the transitions we have in this diagram? Anyone?
Ready to running, sir.
Yes, one transition is ready to running. Okay, next.
Then running from ready, running to ready.
Yes. Running to ready. Very good. Next.
Block to ready.
Block to ready. One transition, right? Next.
Running to blocked.
Running to blocked. Then running
Running
to
to terminate.
terminate. Okay. So these are called state transitions. We have 4 states. Then how many transitions we have? Can you count? We are finding totally 5 transitions. Okay. Okay, let us see when these transitions takes place. Now you have understood the concept. Can you think when we get ready to running transition? Anyone? When do we get a transition from ready to running? Anyone? Can anyone tell when do we
Dispatching,
get?
sir.
Yes,
At dispatching.
dispatching. Okay. More precisely, anyone? When we get ready to running state.
Waiting for CPU.
Okay, ready state, it indicates that the process is waiting for CPU, right? When do we get ready to running state? Okay, it's very simple. Once the CPU is allocated to the program, that program will be switched from ready to running state. Is it clear? You have n number of programs in the ready state, but for only one program, the CPU will be allocated. The program for which the CPU allocation takes place, that program state will be switched from ready to running state. Okay, I hope you have understood. Ready to
Yes,
running
sir.
transition takes place when the CPU is allocated to a program. Okay, can anyone tell when do we get running to say ready state? Anyone can think logically? Running state to ready state, when it can happen?
After completion of first instruction, sir.
No. Once the program completes its instructions, it will move from running state to terminate state. But what about running state?
Error occurs.
Error occurs. No. Okay, any other answers? Please think. No problem. You just think logically and tell your answers. Maybe right or wrong, but you can think, you can explore. Okay. Anyone?
One execution is blocked, sir.
Okay. Execution, when it is blocked, it will move from running state to blocked state. Blocked state, it indicates that process has made some request which cannot be granted immediately by the operating system, right? Okay, no problem. Students, just try to understand this concept. When a low priority process is under execution, at the same time, if a high priority program or process is submitted, what will happen at that time? The low priority program which is in running state will be switched to ready state, and that high priority program will get CPU and it will move from ready state to running state. I hope you are understanding the concept. So actually when a high priority program is submitted, that time the low priority program which is in running state will be switched from running state to ready state. Okay, so actually this running state to ready state, it indicates that preemption has occurred, right? Okay, we have seen 2 transitions. Ready to running, it happens when CPU is allocated to a program, and running to ready state we get when a program is preempted due to a high priority program. Then what about running to terminate state? It's simple. Running state to terminate state, when it happens?
After completion of instruction.
Yes. Once the program completes its execution, it will move from running state to terminate state. Okay. Next, what about running state to blocked state? When we get this transition, running state to blocked state. This transition occurs when the process has made some request which cannot be granted immediately by the operating system. That time, the process is switched from running state to blocked state, right? So running state to blocked state, it indicates that the process is waiting for some resource or some request. Okay. The next last transition we have blocked state to ready state. Can you tell when it happens? You have some processes which are in blocked state. Blocked state means they are the processes which are waiting for some resource. Okay. So when this transition occurs, then blocked state to ready state. This transition occurs if the resource is granted to that process. Okay. Once the process which is in blocked state, if it gets the resource or if its waiting period is completed, then automatically we get the transition from blocked state to ready state. Okay. Okay, students, we have totally 4 process states and 5 we have state transitions. Please remember, they are very important topics. Okay. No doubt you will get the question on this topic, like explain the different states of the processes and also the state transition.